So welcome back to our Puredata tutorials. So after the two exercises of working with the gem mouse, we will explore another interface, that's your keyboard. So we come back to this particular exercise with the use of the pix film and movies. And before we start playing with the movies, so we first explore a little bit about the new command we are going to use with the name called gemkeyboard. And with the gemkeyboard, you can see there's only one outlet. So the outlet is usually a code. So we can have a look of that particular code in combination with our keyboard. When we start rendering the image, so also remember when you need to use the gem keyboard, you also need to focus or click upon this particular gem window. Once you click on this window, you can start pressing any of the key in your keyboard. For example, I press the A. And other keys over here. So for example, I press the key number 1 in the keyboard, key number 2 in the keyboard, key number 3 in the keyboard, the left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, and the downward arrow. So each one of the key in the keyboard has a particular notation in form of the code, and Puredata will use that particular code to differentiate the different key when you press upon your keyboard. In order to make sense of this particular code, we would like to use the command we have come across in the last exercise. Is, for example, if we would like to detect the code or the key when you press upon in order to trigger some of the effect. So we'll use the same command we come across, is select. So in the last exercise, we just specify select 1 in our use of the gem mouse. But for the keyboard, we would like to, for example, in this case, we would like to detect the 2 keys, and then based on the key you press on the keyboard to trigger a film to display. For example, when you press upon the key number 1 with the code as indicated by 18, and the second one, the key number 2, as indicated by the code 19. So we'll use the 2 number and then put it after the select keyword. Once you have this particular object, you can see there will be 3 outlets. The first one corresponds to the first parameter, 18. The second one corresponds to the second one, 19. And the third one, which is the else statement or the otherwise statement, which try to capture the event when you press upon other keys instead of the 18 and 19. So the output of the select command will be a band. Both the first and the second outlet will trigger a band through the outlet, and also the last one will also trigger another band. So the interpretation of the command is whenever you press on the keyboard with the key number 1, that is the key code 18, so a band will send to the first outlet over here. If you press on this key number 2, so that is the code 19, so the band will pass through to the second outlet. So for other key you press on in your keyboard, the band will send through the third outlet. So we have a look of the behavior. once you focus on this particular window, you can start pressing on any key. For other keys, instead of the number 1 and number 2, you will see that particular outlet, the last one, will be triggered. So if you press on the right one, for example, the key number 1, the band will pass through this. And when you press through the second one, the band will send through the second outlet. So you can repeatedly press on the same key again and again. So there will be more band sent out from the outlet. So in that case, we can connect the band to some useful operation. So in our case, we'll use it to control which particular video you would like to play back through the use of the message command here. So we can have 2 of them. So the first outlet, the first band, will trigger the opening of the first movie, and the second one, the second movie. So we ignore the last one. So we'll test play this particular effect. By pressing the first key, the key number 1, we trigger the track 1 movie with the bird, and then the second one with the dishes. So whenever we press the key again and again, we will trigger the opening of this particular movie. Sometimes this is useful, sometimes this is not very particularly useful if we would like just to change the movie from the first one to the second one or the third one. So a lot of cases we will, for example, ignore the repeated key. In our case, for example, when we press the first key, so we start the movie again, and if we press it again and again and again and again, so the movie will be played back from the very beginning in a very strange way. So in that case, you do not allow the user to see the playback of that particular movie, but by just going back to the beginning of that movie again and again. So in some cases, we would like to have a more smooth playback of the movie until the user press another key which trigger another movie. So we'll try to take care of this with one additional command. So remember, in this case, whenever you press on the key number 1, a value 18 will send through the keyboard. And even though if you press it again, the same value will send through to the select command, which will trigger multiple bands. And if we would like to ignore the repeated key, we can add another object over here with the name called change. So in this case, when the same key passing through the change, the repeated one will be ignored. So unless you press another key which is different from the original one, it will then pass through to the select command. So we can have a look of the effect. So we change to the dishes and then back to the track 1 with the birds. And in this case, if I press on again and again and again the first key with 18, it will no longer trigger the playback of the track 1 from the very beginning. So until I press on the second one, the number 19, it will go to the playback of the dishes movie. And when I try to repeatedly press on the second key, it will not try to trigger the playback of the dishes movie from the very beginning. So in that case, the change command will smooth out the repeated key or repeated pressing of the key that sometimes will be very annoying if you allow the user to do so. So in this exercise, we explore the use of the keyboard with the gemkeyboard command, which will passing out one particular code that differentiate one particular key from the others. So we make use of that multiple keys function as a way to control, for example, playing back of different movies. So in the next exercise, we'll explore a little bit more about the use of this keyboard command and the different form of graphical or imaging effect in GEM.